Got You Back Chat, a podcast where we talk about whatever we want as young people. Today we're joined by Ruby, and this is her first ever podcast, and me, Scarlett. So, how are you today?
I'm good.
Good. So, today we're talking about coping with change. We've covered this theme throughout October, so make sure you subscribe and follow us on socials at GYBHull or search Got You Back Hull on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube and Spotify. So, Ruby.
Hi.
What do you find scary about change?
I think it's like, I think we're sort of told it's like a big thing. Like it's always like, ooh, change, you know. So I think I sort of was always like thinking whenever there's a change in my life that it's gonna be bad, but I guess that's not always the case. Scarlett, what do you think about change?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of, like, when you think of change, usually most people think about negative change. But then, actually, I think that even negative change, there's always, I'm quite an optimistic person, so I think there's always going to be something positive that comes out of a change, even if it doesn't seem like it at the time. Like, I think life can be quite boring. If nothing changed ever, life would be quite boring. So even if it's scary, you know, it's quite a good thing, really, I think.
Yeah, and I think like with change, even negative change, I think I can't think of like a single thing that's changed about my life, like that's happened to me that hasn't sort of turned out that something good has come out of it. You know, like even the things that seem really bad at the time that it happens, it always like ends up good, whether I've just like learned something from the situation or like something good has, you know, something good always seems to come out of it.
Yeah, I agree. So you mentioned things. I just feel like I'm interviewing you. Just saying the questions. So I think I agree. I mean, even like certain like big things, like, you know, both of our parents are divorced, so that's kind of a big change that happens usually when you're quite young, and that's really scary at the time. But like, I can't even imagine like my parents still being together. Like that would just be awful. That would just be not good. Like my mum's boyfriend's really nice, and I think that's like a prime example of like, you know, things that are bad at the time, but it always turns out good in the end. Like, you know.
Yeah. No, I think I agree.
Yeah.
I think school as well is like a big thing when you think of change, because there's sort of from like the beginning of your life, then something changes of not having any sort of school, and then you go into primary, and then primary to secondary seems like a massive change, and then like secondary to college seems like a big change. But I don't know, I feel like you get used to it like so quickly. Like I've been in college for like a month now, and I already like think about the time that that I was in secondary and think like that was such a crazy time. Like I can't imagine going back to secondary. Like I'm really happy at college, and I think I was like terrified when I was first going into college, because I was like, I don't know, like what if the dynamics with my friends change? Like what if, you know, like I can't balance my time as well, because, you know, everyone always says, oh, college is a massive step up, like you're gonna really struggle. I really struggled, everyone really struggled, but like I don't know, I think it's going okay, and I think I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm still in secondary, but I think I'm actually not dreading college at all. I actually can't wait to leave that school, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to come to college.
But yeah, like even primary school, like my brother just left primary school, and it is like, it's kind of crazy to think that was such a big change like at the time. Like I remember like us all like crying on the last day. We were like, oh my god. But like I think it's just, you have to change to kind of change as a person. Like if I was still with the same friends that I was with from the ages of like 4 to like 13, then I wouldn't have changed as a person at all, and I wouldn't be like the person who I am, and I think I'm a pretty good person. So you know, I don't want to be like the same. If you're the same person throughout your whole life, then that's just, there's no way that that can be a good thing. So you have to kind of go to new places and meet new people to be able to learn from other people and like develop your opinions and just kind of become the person who you are without just being the same as you are like 6 years ago, because that would just be weird.
Like, I guess change is sort of what shapes you, like you said, you know, if you were just nothing ever changed, then you probably would never change.
Yeah.
Because you would just sort of be used to it. But, like, I guess when things change, then you sort of have to, like, face that, and then that changes you as a person, usually for the better.
Yeah. So, kind of moving on from, like, more personal changes, in just general society right now, I know for a fact there's a lot of things that need to change, but is there anything, you know, specifically that you think needs to change right now?
I think, well, I mean, we both went to, like, the Women's March yesterday, and I think that is a massive issue at the moment. Like, just being there, that was, like, insane. So many people sort of talked about their stories, and just, like, as you looked around, you noticed, like, this is a thing that happens to, like, every woman. And I think that has been going on for so long, and for so long people have been saying, like, this needs to change, but, like, what's really happened about it? And I think there needs to be some proper change, you know. They spoke a lot about making misogyny an actual hate crime, which hasn't happened yet, and I think that needs to change.
Yeah, I agree. Yesterday was pretty crazy. So many people got up and told their stories, and it was like, and so many people said, like, you know, they told stories from, like, when they were, like, 12 years old up to now when they were, like, in their 30s or something, and, like, that is a long time, and it's a long time for people who, like, and then for us to still, like women, like, now to still be getting, you know, like, spiked, like, so much, and, like, catcalled and stuff, and it's been, like, so many years and just nothing's happened, and it's kind of like, how is just nothing happened yet? It's kind of just insane.
Yeah, I feel like it's just been a thing that, like, for so many years people have said, like, oh yeah, we should probably get round to fixing that.
Yeah.
And then just, we haven't. Like, it's still sort of as bad as ever. Which, you know, isn't good.
Yeah, no, not at all. I think also, you know, like, climate change.
Yeah.
Segue there. Yeah. Off we go. I think that also, like, you know, I used to go to Youth Strike for Climate a lot, and the environment's sort of a big thing, and I feel like there was a huge focus on changing then, sort of when Extinction Rebellion were, like, a big thing, when Youth Strike for Climates were still happening every month. There was kind of a lot of focus on the environment then, and I feel like it's kind of just gone. Like, I don't know whether that's just me, but I feel like there's nowhere near as much focus on it as there used to be, and I think that momentum needed to carry on.
No, I have seen, like, social justice in the media in the past sort of few years. It seems to come and go in trends, which really isn't good, because it means they focus on this one thing for, like, a month or two, and it's the biggest thing, it's really big, like, we really need to do something about this, it really needs to change. And then they just, like, forget about it and move on to the next thing. And it's like, while the next thing is still important, we should sort of be acknowledging the other thing that hasn't changed.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's... Yeah. Anything else? Anything else you think?
Anything else?
I mean, there's a lot of things. Like, I could sit here for, like, hours listing things that I don't like about the world, but that probably wouldn't make for a very entertaining podcast.
Yeah.
It's just, I think also something that we spoke about the other day, like, all of these things that we're saying need to change, but it's just so difficult to know how to make that change.
Yeah.
Like, it's all well and good saying, right, I disagree with this, I think it should change, but then you kind of come to a point where you're like, where do I go from here? Like, how do I make this change?
Yeah.
Because most of the time, like, we're just normal people who don't have any, like, real power. Like, we can't just go up to the government and be like, hey, change this, and they'll listen. So it's kind of like knowing that, you know, there's, like, petitions, going to protests. I think it's really important that people know about that, because otherwise then it's kind of like, well, nothing's going to change because no one knows how to change it.
Yeah, I think you get a lot of people that, like want to make a change, but they just don't know where to start. And I think there is a lot sort of like in school and stuff, you're taught like this is bad, this shouldn't be happening, but you're never taught how you can change that. You're never taught sort of what you can do as an individual to like, I think you're sort of taught a lot, this is wrong, but someone else will figure it out, you know. The
Yeah.
government will get round to it when they have the chance. But I think we can't settle for the government will get round to it. We need to start like doing things ourselves.
Yeah.
And I like there is definitely a way to do that, but I think we're just not taught about it enough. It's not talked about enough that you can do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of the time, even when you are told, like for example, I think people get told, there's certain petitions you can sign. It's they don't really get told what those petitions do. Like it's like people will post a petition on their story and they'll sign it and then it'll get like a certain amount of signatures and then it'll qualify, to be talked about in Parliament. And that's kind of how the petition thing works most of the time. Because I know that because that's just something I know. But I think a lot of people don't see the point in it as well because it's like petition's just a list of names, what's that going to do. So I think it's even going deeper than telling people how to make a change and telling them how doing that thing makes the change, because
Yeah.
otherwise it's like, well, what's the point, what's the point in me going and standing in town for an hour and listening to people like do speeches? What's the point in me doing that? Because I don't think that really does anything. So you need to kind of let them know that what they're doing does matter, because I think a lot of people get really disheartened if they're going and putting all this effort in and then they don't really know what's actually coming from that or what the point of it is.
Yeah. And I think change definitely isn't something that's just going to happen overnight. And I think a lot of people get disheartened when it doesn't happen overnight, but it is sort of like it will be a long process and you should try and make it as short as possible because you want all of this bad stuff to stop happening. You shouldn't just let it go on for decades. But if you are trying to make a change, then don't like get disheartened when it doesn't happen super quickly because it might take a while, but just whatever you're doing is helping. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have any advice that you'd give to a young person who struggles to cope with change? Or anything that you've done, to try and cope with change yourself that you pass on?
Um, I think I don't know. I'm trying to think like what helped me the most with change. I think just sort of like accepting like it is gonna happen. Like if it is a change that will happen for definite, then you sort of have to try and see the positives because you can get all hung up on the negatives of the what ifs, like what if when I go to this new school, what if I lose all my friends, what if everyone hates me, what if all my teachers hate me, like what if there's all these negatives you can think about, but there are also all these positives. What if I make loads of new friends, what if I like am really happy at my new school, what if I'm happier there than I am here. Like there are definitely negatives and positives that come out of change, and I think it can be hard, but you do just have to try and focus on the positives because if you get hung up on the negatives, then you just can't stop thinking about them and then you just sort of spiral and it's a whole thing. So yeah, I guess just focus on the positives. What advice do you have, Scarlett?
I think not being like scared or not being embarrassed to feel scared, because I think you can always say like, oh yeah, it's fine, nothing bad's going to come from this change, and a lot of the time people in their like brain, they know that nothing that bad's going to happen, like they're not going to die because they're going to a new school, like they know that that's not going to happen. But obviously brains are very irrational sometimes and you think, oh my god, I am going to die at this new school, oh my god, what's going to happen. And I think obviously not worrying, like focusing on the positives like you said, but also being scared is okay. Like there's something big's changing in your life, like it's not going to be the same. So even though obviously you should focus on the positives and you shouldn't get too swamped down by all the negative what ifs, you're not like, you're not alone in feeling scared about it. Other people are scared. It's okay to feel scared, but just know that your fears aren't the only thing that's going to come from this. You know, there is going to be positives too. Maybe you might lose a few friends, but you'll replace them with even better friends who know you even better and you have even better times with. You know, like, just don't not being scared, but also knowing that it's okay to be scared.
Yeah.
It's really confusing advice, but that would be my piece of advice.
No, it's that sort of thing of just like, you know, sort of when you're sad, then you're allowed to be sad, but then like don't stay sad.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're scared, that's fine. You can be scared, but don't stay scared for like the rest of your life. You know, just take some time to like think about, I feel scared, like why do I feel scared? You know, how will I get around this being scared? And then you sort of, if you try and think about it in a sort of like, I don't know, if you just like think about it, then you can sort of work through it, I guess, and then you can come out the other side and be happy. But I think you can definitely be sad. It's just that if you get hung up on it, and just always think about that, that's not good.
Yeah, and I think not being afraid to talk to people as well. Like, I think a lot of people think everyone's like I imagine, obviously I don't know, but I imagine a lot of people are scared to move from secondary school to college, but because they're like 16 at this point, it's like, oh, you shouldn't be scared about that, you know? Like, it's sort of the embarrassment, but I assume that a lot of people were scared when moving from secondary school to college. Like, a lot of people were absolutely terrified, and I think a lot of the people who were terrified will have just been so embarrassed by that. So I think don't be embarrassed and like talk to someone, because everyone goes through certain changes in life and everyone has experienced at some point a big change in their life, probably. So just talk to someone. Anyone will be able to empathize with it, likely. And then there you go, you're not alone. You have a little friend in this scenario.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, I mean, I was one of the lucky ones because I came, you know, from like a school that a lot of my friends are moving, like from there. So I sort of came already with quite a few people that I already knew, quite a few friends. But there are a lot of people that are coming, you know, there are people that are coming from like all over, which is so crazy. Like when I talk to people, it's hard to find someone that doesn't get an hour-long bus to school. And like, just remember, if you are one of those people coming from like a school where you're like maybe the only one coming from that school, or there's like 3 other people coming with you or something, just remember, like, so many other people are going to be in your shoes right now. Like, so many other people are not going to know anyone. So like, don't be afraid to be feeling like that, because so many other people will be feeling like that along with you. And like, I do remember like on the first day, like no one talked to anyone. It was so scary. We just like sat in our rooms and we're just like, right, I'm gonna stare at this piece of paper and that's it. I'm not gonna even look at any of you. I'm terrified of you all. But like by a week in, I think people were sort of starting to talk more and like get to know each other. So I think if it's your first day, like at a new school or whatever, and no one's talking to you, don't come home and be like, right, I'm gonna drop out, I'm gonna move far, far away, I'm never gonna speak to anyone ever again. Because it's just like a normal thing that people are afraid when it's the first day. So just like give it a bit, you know, give it a week or 2, and you'll, like, I guarantee you'll have made some new friends.
Yeah.
Or like you'll have found your place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Change is cool.
It is cool.
Yeah, that's my final comment.
Change is cool. Change is cool, and it doesn't always feel cool, but anyone listening can assure you change is cool, and it will be cool in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's it from us this month. Thank you for listening, and make sure to follow us on our socials at GYB Hull. Remember, all of our episodes are on YouTube and Spotify. Goodbye.
Bye.
Got Your Back Chat is a podcast made by Got Your Back, a media made by young people for young people. Got Your Back Chat is managed by Eskimosoup for the Got Your Back campaign. Alice O'Dwyer is our campaign lead, Jenny Harrison is our producer, Keely Graham is our designer, and Peyton Hutchinson made the jingle. You can follow Got Your Back on social media by searching @GYBHull, and make sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to hear more in the future.